tell me, are you familiar with that feeling when you wake up in the morning and your body feels like it's not your own? It pulls here, aches there, and your first thought is, well, here we go again. Age. We so often blame on age what is actually our body's cry for help. Imagine your body as a wise but slightly tired house. And in this house, the floorboards, joints, start creaking, the faucet, digestion, is acting up, and the lights flicker on and off, energy at zero. Why does this happen? Over the years, our metabolism slows down, cells don't regenerate as quickly, and the minor breakdowns accumulated throughout life make themselves known. And what do? Often, nothing. Or worse, we aggravate the problem with habits that seem harmless. For example, a plate of fried potatoes for dinner is like throwing heavy stones into the furnace of our digestion, which is already working hard. Or the habit of sitting for hours in front of the TV to rest our legs. That's like letting dust and cobwebs cover every corner of our house, robbing it of freshness and comfort. But I'm here to tell you, you can feel lightness, a surge of energy, and the joy of movement again. Together, we'll explore those very sensations you might have stopped paying attention to, and I'll show you how simple changes in habits can work wonders, and it won't require heroic efforts or great expense from you. Stay with me, and you'll see how to give your body back the care it deserves. And the first thing we often just wave away, considering it an inevitable part of aging, is chronic fatigue. That feeling like your batteries are constantly at zero and a light fog in your head that makes it hard to concentrate. Sound familiar? It's just old age, we tell ourselves. But often, the culprit isn't age, but what we fuel our bodies with. Therefore, my first piece of advice is, replace simple carbohydrates, white bread, sweets, pastries, with complex ones, whole grain bread, cereals, vegetables, and add healthy fats, avocado nuts, olive oil. I remember when Arthur, who was 72, came to me. He complained that after lunch he felt an irresistible urge to sleep, and by evening he had no energy left even to read the newspaper. His days started with white toast and jam for lunch, mashed potatoes with a cutlet, and dinner often consisted of sweet tea with cookies. "Doctor," he'd say, "I've eaten like this my whole life, and everything was fine. I guess my time has just come." He was very skeptical about my suggestion to change his diet. It seemed too complicated to him, and besides, what difference does it make at this age? His favorite cookies were a small joy for him, almost a ritual. Giving them up felt like betraying himself. We started gradually. Instead of white toast, oatmeal with water and berries. Instead of mashed potatoes, buckwheat with baked chicken breast, and a large portion of fresh vegetable salad dressed with olive oil. Sweet tea with cookies was replaced with herbal tea and a handful of almonds. The first few days were tough for Arthur. He missed the familiar taste. He felt like he wasn't getting enough to eat, even though the portions were sufficient. But after just a week, he noticed the first changes. "You know," he said at the next appointment, "I stopped falling asleep after lunch, and I was even able to finish a chapter in a book I'd been putting off in the evening." So, what happened? Simple carbohydrates, like sugar and white flour, are like a roller coaster for our energy. They give a sharp spike, followed by an equally sharp crash, leaving us drained and hungry. Imagine trying to light a furnace with paper. It flares up brightly but dies out instantly. But complex carbohydrates and healthy fats are like good logs that burn steadily and long, providing stable warmth and energy. Fiber from vegetables and whole grains, like a caring gardener, helps our digestion work smoothly, and healthy fats are essential for the brain, like oil, for the gears of a complex mechanism. Psychologically, Arthur felt like a winner. He realized he could influence how he felt. This small victory gave him a huge boost of confidence. You too will feel your energy return, your concentration improve, and that constant drowsiness disappear. So, listen to your body. Perhaps it's just asking for better quality fuel. Well, what if you've sorted out the fuel, but your body still greets you in the morning with stiffness, and your joints ache and creak like an unlubricated cart? This is another sensation we often take for granted. Well, what can you do? It's arthritis. Age-related? We sigh and try to move less, afraid of causing harm. But here's my advice. Replace passive rest on the sofa with gentle physical activity. Short walks, light joint exercises, swimming, or beginner's yoga. I want to tell you the story of Eleanor. She's 68. She had always been an active woman, but for the past few years, pain in her knees and back had literally confined her to her armchair. Every movement is torture, she complained. I'm afraid of falling, afraid it will get worse. And she protected herself. She almost stopped leaving the house, neglected her beloved garden. Internally, she felt like a prisoner in her own body. We started with the very basics. A 5-minute walk around her apartment every 2 hours, then added a few simple stretching exercises. Eleanor was very scared at first. Why torture myself, she thought. But she trusted me. After a couple of weeks, she noted with surprise that the morning stiffness had lessened. Can you imagine? I got up today and didn't feel that usual ache in my back, she joyfully reported. Gradually, they increased the walking time, and she started going out into the yard. Why did it work? Our joints need movement. Movement improves circulation, nourishes cartilage, and helps produce lubrication for the joints. It's like a rusted mechanism. The longer it sits idle, the harder it is to get moving. Gentle exercise, on the contrary, helps. Psychologically, for Eleanor, it was a return to life. She felt like the master of her own body again, and even the slight shortness of breath when climbing a couple of stairs gradually disappeared. So, don't be afraid of movement. Start small. Find what brings you pleasure, and your body will surely thank you with lightness and freedom. But physical lightness is wonderful, but what if your mind lets you down? Oh, where did I put my glasses? What was that actress's name? What was I about to say? Familiar phrases, aren't they? We often attribute this to age-related forgetfulness, to the brain not being what it used to be. My advice here is, replace passive information consumption, like watching TV for hours, with active mental activity, reading, solving crosswords, learning something new, socializing. And don't forget to drink enough water. David, 75, came to me complaining that he had become completely absent-minded. His main leisure activity was watching news and TV series. My brain feels like it's in a fog, he said. Perhaps this is the beginning of something bad. He was scared and depressed. We agreed that he would try to dedicate at least 30 minutes each day to active mental work, solving crosswords, and he would drink at least 1.5 liters of plain water. At first, it was difficult for David. It's useless, he said, but he persisted. A month later, he came back a completely different person. You won't believe it, he declared from the doorway. I've started reading again, and my head has become clearer, as if someone had opened a window. So, what happened? Our brain, like our muscles, needs training. When we make it work, we create new neural connections. It's like forging new paths in a forest. And water is life. The brain is 80% water. Psychologically, David felt immense relief and pride. Remember, your brain is an amazing instrument. Don't let it get bored. Feed it with new knowledge and experiences, and it will serve you faithfully for many years. Speaking of our body's faithful service, how often do we ignore signals from our digestive system? Bloating, heaviness after meals, irregular bowel movements that turn a trip to the toilet into a real ordeal. We often blame a sensitive stomach. Here, my advice is simple. Replace foods with low nutritional value and little fiber with fiber-rich foods, vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, and fermented dairy products with probiotics. Margaret, 70, had suffered from chronic constipation for many years. She had tried countless laxatives, but they only provided temporary relief. My gut lives its own, completely unpredictable life, she said bitterly. I'm afraid to eat outside my home. She was used to eating soft, gentle food. Sometimes she felt a slight tingling or numbness in her toes, but attributed it to fatigue. We started very cautiously introducing fiber-rich foods into her diet and added kefir. Margaret was skeptical. Can some cabbage really help? She doubted, but she didn't give up, and a miracle happened. After about 3 to 4 weeks, Margaret noticed that her bowel movements became regular, and the heaviness in her stomach disappeared. You can't imagine what a relief this is, she shared. And by the way, the tingling in my legs is gone too. Fiber is like a little broom for our intestines, and fermented dairy products with probiotics populate the gut with beneficial bacteria. Imagine your gut is a garden. Fiber is a good gardener, and probiotics are beneficial plants. Psychologically, this was a huge breakthrough for Margaret. She was no longer dependent on laxatives. So, take care of your inner garden. Simple dietary changes can dramatically improve your well-being. And without good, restorative sleep, there can be no talk of joy and lightness, right? Didn't sleep a wink, tossed and turned, and in the morning, a head like lead. Or, I fall asleep fine, but at 3 in the morning, eyes wide open, and not a wink of sleep till dawn. Sleep problems are the scourge of many, yet good sleep is fundamental. My advice: replace evening TV watching or computer use with a relaxing bedtime ritual, a warm bath, reading a paper book, calm music, and create a sleepy atmosphere in your bedroom. Samuel, 78, considered himself a night owl. He went to bed well after midnight, after movies or talk shows. He had trouble falling asleep and often woke up. In the morning, he felt drained. Sleep is for the weak, he'd joke, but there was tiredness in his eyes. I've lived like this my whole life. We agreed to conduct an experiment, an hour before bedtime, which we moved to 11 p.m. No screens. Instead, a warm shower, herbal tea, a book. In the bedroom, blackout curtains, silence, coolness. The first few nights were a trial. "This is torture," he grumbled, but he persevered. By the end of the week, he was surprised to find he was falling asleep faster and sleeping more soundly. "I slept until 7 this morning without waking up, and my head doesn't hurt." The bright light from screens suppresses the production of melatonin, the sleep hormone, and a calm ritual prepares you for rest. It's like mooring a ship in a calm harbor. Psychologically, Samuel realized that a habit could be changed. So, give yourself the luxury of healthy sleep. Create your evening ritual, and you'll see how the quality of your life changes. But what if you sleep well, eat right, but there's still a heaviness in your soul, and you don't feel like doing anything? Sometimes, such indifference to everything, apathy, and unwillingness to do anything takes over. It seems all joys are in the past. We often attribute this state to a soured personality. Here's my advice: replace loneliness and passivity with social interaction, even if just by phone, hobbies, helping others in manageable ways, or simply walks in nature. Helen, 80, became very withdrawn after her husband's death. Her children lived far away, and she had no friends. The days dragged on like a gray ribbon. "Why do I need anything?" she'd say. "There's no joy." She felt lonely. Sometimes she experienced a sensation of slight dizziness. I suggested Helen start by simply going for a 15-minute walk and calling an old friend. Helen resisted for a long time, but one day, out of boredom, she dialed the number and talked for over an hour. And the next day, she went out to the park. Gradually, Helen began to come alive. She started calling her friend, joined a Nordic walking club. "You know, I've started laughing again," she told me, "and the dizziness is gone." Humans are social creatures. Communication, a sense of belonging, it's like sunshine for the soul. Hobbies provide meaning. Physical activity improves circulation. It's like watering a withered plant. Psychologically, Helen felt that life wasn't over. So, don't let grayness and despondency settle in your soul. Seek sources of joy, socialize, move, and life will sparkle with new colors. But to enjoy these colors to the fullest, we need to breathe easily, don't we? Yet how often do we wave away shortness of breath, even with minor exertion? Climbed to the second floor, and I'm out of breath. Walked 100 meters, and I already need a rest. Ignoring shortness of breath is like not noticing a flashing red light on the dashboard. My advice: replace avoiding all exertion with a very gradual and gentle introduction of mild cardio exercises, walking at a comfortable pace, breathing exercises, and be sure to consult your doctor. George, 73, had always been quite overweight but active. However, in recent years, even a short walk caused him severe shortness of breath. He began to avoid activity, afraid of provoking an attack. "I'd better stay home," he'd say. The first thing I insisted on was that George see a cardiologist. No serious pathologies were found, but his heart and lungs needed training. We started with breathing exercises, then added short walks around his apartment. George was wary. What if it gets worse? But gradually, he began to notice that he could walk a little longer without shortness of breath. Today I walked to the bench in the park and didn't even get winded. It's like I've learned to breathe deeply again. Regular, albeit very light, cardio exercises train the heart muscle, and the lungs learn to work more efficiently. It's like gradually inflating a deflated balloon. Psychologically, this was a huge achievement for George. He stopped being afraid of his body. So, don't ignore your body's signals. Start small, and you'll be able to breathe deeply again. There are other, more delicate signals that prevent us from enjoying life to the fullest, but which are not usually talked about. These are frequent urges to urinate and embarrassing accidents when coughing or laughing. We attribute this to an aging bladder and suffer in silence. My advice: replace passive acceptance of the problem with special exercises to strengthen the pelvic floor muscles, Kegel exercises, adjusting your fluid intake, and, if necessary, consulting a specialist. Mary, 69, admitted that her life had turned into a constant search for a toilet. She was afraid to leave home for long periods. "I feel so awkward," she said bitterly. "It's so humiliating." She drank very little fluid, thinking it would help, but it only made things worse. We started by teaching her Kegel exercises and adjusting her fluid intake. Mary was very skeptical. Can some exercises really help? But she was persistent, and after just a month, she noticed the first improvements. Can you imagine? I went shopping today and didn't think about the toilet once, and I only got up once during the night. Pelvic floor muscles weaken with age. Kegel exercises help strengthen them. It's like tightening loosened strings that hold a pouch. Proper fluid intake helps the bladder work normally. Psychologically, this was like liberation for Mary. She felt confident again. So, don't put up with discomfort. Simple exercises and habit adjustments can give you back control. And after all, our skin is also a kind of barometer of our internal state, and it too deserves attention. Has your skin become dry as parchment? Does it often itch? And does the slightest scratch take forever to heal? We often think, well, skin ages, but this is also a signal. My advice: replace neglecting skincare with regular moisturizing with quality creams, drink enough water, and enrich your diet with skin-healthy foods, omega-3s, vitamins A, C, E, zinc. James, 77, complained of constant itchy skin, especially on his shins and back. His skin was very dry. He would scratch it until it bled. Probably an allergy to old age, he joked sadly. He used regular soap and didn't use creams. He drank little water. I advised him to switch to a mild soap and apply moisturizing cream after showering. We also discussed his fluid intake and added oily fish, nuts, and vegetables to his diet. James was initially skeptical about creams. What am I, a girl, to be smearing this stuff on myself? But the itching was unbearable. A couple of weeks later, he came back surprised. It actually helps. My skin is less itchy. With age, skin loses moisture. It's like fertile land that's no longer watered. Regular moisturizing helps. Sufficient water intake moisturizes from within. And nutrients are the building blocks. Psychologically, James felt relief. He understood that skincare is an important part of healthcare. Remember, your skin is the largest organ of your body, and it too needs care and nourishment. And finally, let's talk about our windows and ears to the world. Our vision and hearing, which gradually deteriorate. I've started seeing worse up close. Letters blur. I have to turn the TV up louder. We often attribute this to inevitable changes and postpone a visit to a specialist. My advice: replace passive acceptance of deterioration with regular vision and hearing checks, and don't be afraid to use corrective aids, glasses, hearing aids, if they are necessary. Patricia, 74, loved reading and knitting, but these activities had started to frustrate her. Letters merged. She often had to ask people to repeat themselves, but the thought of glasses or a hearing aid met with resistance. It's a sign of old age, infirmity. She tried to hide her problems. I gently persuaded Patricia to go for a checkup. It turned out she had age-related farsightedness and the initial stages of hearing loss. She was fitted for glasses and a hearing aid. Patricia hesitated for a long time. I'll look like a deaf old woman. But when she first put on her glasses and opened a book, her eyes felt so much better. And when her hearing aid was adjusted and she heard the birds chirping, tears welled up in her eyes. I'd forgotten what it's like to see and hear well. The world became bright and clear again. Timely correction is an opportunity to live a full life. Glasses are like a magnifying glass. A hearing aid is like an amplifier. By refusing them, we deprive ourselves of joy. Psychologically, for Patricia, it was a return to a world of bright colors and sounds. So, don't let deteriorating vision or hearing steal your joy of life. My dears, today we've looked at 10 important signals our body sends us, and 10 simple ways to respond to them with care and love. Remember, your age is not an illness, but a treasure trove of experience, wisdom, and years lived. And you have every right to enjoy each day, to feel energetic, healthy, and happy. Don't be afraid of small steps. Don't postpone self-care. Each of the suggested tips is a simple but very important contribution to your well-being. You are the masters of your body and your life. Listen to yourselves, believe in your strength, and you will see how gratefully your body responds. May every day be filled with lightness, health, and joy.